Good morning. It's Wednesday morning. We had a great meeting last night at Galena First Baptist Church. Sure was a lot of fun. Remember, we're going to be having a baptizing this Sunday at 2 o'clock. You come to the morning service and we're going to have hamburgers. And if you feel like bringing a side, you can do that. But we're going to baptize some people from our church and some people from another church. There's some kids from the Shiloh Baptist Church. They didn't want to get baptized in the river, so we have a stock tank. We call it a baptistry. But it's a stock tank with a decorative wall about it. You can see it when you look at the services on the Facebook, you know. Anyway, y'all come if you can. We're having a good time there. Good morning, Chris. God bless you. Had a good time last night. We're in Jeremiah chapter 49. I think that we will finish this today, probably in chapter 49. But there's but it's a little difficult. We know we've done Moab, we've done Ammon, we've done Edom, we've done Damascus, and now when we've done Kedar and Hazor, the Kedarites and the Hazorites, who were in and around the city of Hazor, north of the Sea of Galilee, in the land of Naphtali, which Isaiah prophesied and which Jesus fulfilled. They that sat in darkness, by Galilee of the Gentiles, they that sat in darkness saw a great light. And I had to submit to some confusion, because these sons of Ishmael, they did not fight against their brother Isaac, and they did not help Babylon. They did not help King Nebuchadnezzar. And why God let them be destroyed, I don't know. It must have been for some other wickedness, some purpose. And as I explained, it's above my pay grade to know why. But in regards to the Chaldeans, the Kedar people and the Hazor people, they did not help destroy Jerusalem. And that was probably why, that was why Nebuchadnezzar destroyed them, because they wouldn't help. But that would seem to me that they were standing up for God's people. See, I know when I get to heaven, I'll be saying, righteous and true are thy judgments, O Lord. And I never doubt, and I always know God's right. But I have the kind of mind that I want to know why. And sometimes the why, the only explanation is that he's God, and he knows more than I know. And that's the only, that's the only thing I can see to him sometimes. God does not have to explain himself to the likes of Jimmy Harris. It's up to Jimmy Harris to find the explanation in his word. So anyway, I don't know, as I told you yesterday, I don't know the answer, the complete answer as to why Kedar and Hazor were destroyed in those kingdoms, those sons of Ishmael. Now, we're going to talk about Elam. Now, this has a past fulfillment. It's been fulfilled. This has a future fulfillment also. I'm going to read part of it, and then we'll talk a little bit about who Elam is. Good morning, Bill. And who they are then and who they are today, because they've been in the news lately. Verse 34, chapter 49 in Jeremiah. And I started this off by saying we'd probably finish this today. I'm not exactly sure, because we have two fulfillments of this prophecy, a near and a far. The far has yet to be completed, so it's still ahead of us, but maybe not much longer. Beginning in verse 34, chapter 49 of Jeremiah, the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah. Zedekiah began to reign in 597 BC, because he reigned 11 years before Jerusalem fell in 586 BC. So this had to be either 597 or 598, somewhere in there when Jeremiah wrote this. The other prophecies he wrote a little later, probably around 600 BC. So we can, that sometimes that's the only way we can get a closer date, is to find out where in the reign of the king we are, because those things are written down in the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel and Judah, and we can measure some of those things that way. So it was around 597, 598 BC that Jeremiah wrote this, at the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah. His reign ended in 586 BC when the army of the Chaldeans destroyed Jerusalem and took him captive and carried him away, blinded, to Babylon. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah the king of Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Who is Elam? Elam was, by the way of the back 40, a descendant of Shem, of course, because of Abraham. So they were a Semitic people. And Elam is mentioned in the return from Babylon of the captivities, and there's a theory that he was a Levite. I don't believe this is true, because this country of Elam, he would have been one of the sons, and he went far away. As a matter of fact, after the scattering of the Tower of Babel, or was it after the flood? I told you about this before, and then I forgot about it. You see how your brain and your teacher works sometimes? And I don't have my notes on that sermon, but I think I know about where this passage is, about good old brother Elam. I think it was either after the flood or after the Tower of Babel, but I will know soon, and very soon. I'm embarrassed by this, guys, because I can't remember. But I told you I knew something and I don't know it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Elam. This descendant after the flood, he settled in the land of what is modern Iran, in the far southwest corner along the Persian Gulf. Um, okay, I was looking in the right spot. I just read past it. Let's go back to Genesis 10. One of the sons of Shem. I mentioned that he was a Shemite. The sons of Shem. And there he is, the firstborn of Shem. Well, the name was so much shorter than our fact said that I just missed it. Your teacher, he remembers everything he used to know, but I don't know what's happening with my phone now. He remembers everything he used to know, but sometimes it's not always in order. So he was a descendant of Shem. He went far to the east, and from Jerusalem, but he was going west from the plain of Shinar. And this would have been way south of Babylon, way south of Nineveh, which the Nineveh was the capital of the Assyrians, and Babylon was the capital of the Chaldeans, and would also be the capital of the Persians and the Medes before Alexander the Great came. The country of Elam, they were Shemites. They settled in the southwestern corner of what is now modern-day Iraq. This is the land of the Medes. Remember, the Medes and the Persians joined together to crush the Chaldean armies of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar died. He had a son. I think his name was Nabonidus. And then the grandson, Belshazzar, he was acting as the king. He was really the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. When the Medes and the Persians took over Babylon, they didn't destroy Babylon. They took it without a battle. They came in, they dried up the river, they dried up the channel of the river that went through the town, and they just walked through the gate that let the water in and out, and took the city without breaking a wall or burning down anything. They took the city in a night. The first Cyrus bragged about taking Babylon without a fight. The Medes were a warlike people. Of course, they were all warlike tribes back then. You fought for your existence. And they settled in, like I say, what is modern-day Iran in the far southwest corner. And so that's who they were. They became powerful later as the Medes. And the Medes, of course, partnered with the Persians in what we call establishment of the Medo-Persian Empire. So Elam was also the land of the Medes, and Elam was one of the fathers of the Medes as a nation, as a people. And God says he's going to break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Like Elam was the chief tribe, the ones that descended from Elam, who was Shem's son of Noah. He was going to break their bow, and they were the chief of the people in that area. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. This still bothers me how I could stare at a verse for 2 minutes and not see this name. I'm going to take that up with my head doctor the next time I go see her. Would be a question for her that she probably won't be able to answer. I certainly don't want them to open my head up again and look. It's easier for me to look the thing up again, right? With my online concordance. My old Crudence has got the type is so low. I need a magnifying glass plus my trifocals to see it. Very small print in that little Crudence concordance I used to carry with me everywhere. It's about the size of a Bible, but it's only that thick because the print is so small. But it's a useful tool. I would advise you to have that in your toolkit. It's very good, but only if you use a King James Bible. It's worthless otherwise. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Now upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them to all those winds, and there shall be no nation, whether the outcasts of Elam shall not come. That hasn't happened yet. The descendants of the Medes and the Persians are still living there. They speak Farsi. They're Iranians. Or to be, if you want to say it right, it's Iranians. But I come from Texas, and it's Iran. That's EYE-RAN, Iran. That's just how we say it down there. And, of course, Texans are always right. I remember that if a Texan, you can always tell a Texan. you just can't tell him much. and if Bill Sword, if I didn't completely bore you to tears, if you're still watching, and Bill's a great Bible teacher, he would have had his note right there. Well, I didn't think I needed my note from 6 weeks ago today, so I didn't have it at hand. I'm sorry, Bill. I failed our profession. The teacher forgot what he was talking about for a minute. But Bill's in Texas, and if you're from Texas, you know how to tell if someone's from Texas? Well, if they're from Texas, they'll tell you. And you don't ever want to ask somebody whether they're from Texas, because if they are from Texas, they'll tell you. And if they're not from Texas, you don't want to embarrass them and make them feel inferior. Texas, our Texas, oh hail the mighty state. Texas, our Texas, so wonderful, so great. Boldest and grandest, withstanding every test. O empire wide and glorious, ye stand supremely blessed. God bless you, Texas, and keep you brave and strong, that ye may grow in power and worth throughout the ages long. That's the Texas hymn, the state song. We learned it when we were in kindergarten. Had no idea what it meant, but I could still sing it today. It's going to blow everybody out of Elam. And there's not going to be any place that the outcast won't go. I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before them that seek their lives, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith the Lord. And I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. And I will set my throne in Elam, and will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith the Lord. That hadn't happened yet. Nebuchadnezzar's army was so busy to the west of Elam that fighting the Egyptians, fighting the Assyrians first, and then fighting the Egyptians, conquering all of the Middle East, conquering the continent of Africa, or at least the northern part of it, in the upper Nile. I guess it would be lower Nile, because that river runs from south to north. Nebuchadnezzar fought skirmishes and sent armies to destroy the Medes and Elam, the Elamites. But he never could do it because the Medes were too strong. And so Nebuchadnezzar never occupied the capital of Iran, which was then Media and Persia, and Elam was in Media, the Medes. So if it didn't happen then, if he didn't blow them out of there and scatter them and make them outcasts to every nation in the world, that never happened. So it's going to happen in the future. Now, let me tell you how I think it's going to happen in the future, because I think you'll be surprised when you see where Elam is exactly and what is going on there right now. You see, Elam, as I told you, is southwestern Iran. The entire part of ancient Elam is on the northern coast of the Persian Gulf. And you got a border with Iraq here, and then here is Iran, and then here is Elam right here. And this is the Persian Gulf. That's where Elam was, and that's where the people are today. That's where the city was. You know the city is Bashur. Bashur is just a few clicks from the Iraqi border. It sits right on the Persian Gulf. And it is the primary nuclear facility of Iran. That is where they are building their nuclear weapons. That is where their nuclear reactors are. That is where about a third of their fissile material is. Bashur, Iran. That's evil. Recently, there was the Israeli airstrike in the interior of Iran at a town called Isfahan. Why did they bomb Isfahan? It doesn't look like much. Well, you see, Isfahan is about halfway between Bashur, where the big nuclear facilities are on the Persian Gulf. Isfahan is almost due north, north and to the west, east just a little bit. But it's north of Bashur, about halfway between Bashur and Iran, and Tehran, 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 where the hostages were, where the maniacs live. These Ayatollahs, these crazy Ayatollahs want to kill everybody. They certainly want to destroy Israel. Well, that one Ayatollah, he got his. He got his the other day, didn't he? They shot down his airplane, killed his helicopter, and killed him, and also killed the either defense minister, the foreign minister, killed the foreign minister. I'm absolutely sure that Mossad did this. This has Israel's handprints all over it. And if I was Israel, I'd be killing any leader of Iran that I could, because it slows down their nuclear program. If I was the United States, I'd be killing every Iranian leader I could, because they're just up to no good. They want to destroy Israel. They destroy Israel, and they'll kill every Christian that they get their hands on too. In Iran, if you become a Christian and they find out about it, they cut off your head. They don't even give you trial. You're automatically guilty of blasphemy, and they just chop off your head. Whop! And there you are. So I don't lose any sleep over these Iranian fools getting killed. They're already going to hell. They can just get there sooner. And they're surprised when then the 72 virgins that they were supposed to get was really one virgin who was 72. No, that's probably not the right thing to say. Matter of fact, I'm sure it's not the right thing to say. But what they believe is utter nonsense, and their religion is dangerous. It kills people. They hate Jews. They want to destroy Israel. Every day they go out and yell, "Death to America, death to Israel," every day. Well, the Lord, may the Lord deal with them the way they want to deal with us. Huh? That's all I can say about that. But anyway, the Israelis struck Isfahan, interior of Iran, halfway between Bashur, the nuclear facility, and Tehran, the capital. They bombed it for two reasons: to show Iran that they could strike any way and anywhere and anyhow and any time that they wanted to. And Iran could do nothing about it. I love that. Because compared to the Israeli military, the Iranians are still using black powder muskets compared to Israel's IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. The reason they bombed Isfahan is because that's where all the smart people were. All of the labs and all of the scientists and the people behind the nuclear program who were making it work and doing all the math work and the trigonometry and the algebra and all the stuff that they had to do, calculus, all the stuff they had to do to make this all work. They had like a great gathering of the best minds in Iran in scientific and mathematical endeavor, technological endeavor. They were at Isfahan, and they bombed the crap out of them. So see, they lost a lot of their brainiacs as well as losing a lot of their infrastructure, because that was also a place where they worked on the designs and the prototype manufacture of the warheads. That's why Israel bombed them. And it slowed them down some. The death of their president and foreign minister in that helicopter crash, that's will slow them down some too. But they're determined to destroy Israel. And when they do, they'll be scattered. It says here that, and upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them toward all those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcast of Elam shall not come. Why would they have to get out of there? Why couldn't there be some survivors stay there? We know this hadn't happened yet because the land is inhabited. That's where their main nuclear program is. So that just means this hasn't happened yet. It did not happen in the past. The Chaldeans under Nebuchadnezzar the first and Nebuchadnezzar the second failed to make headway in the land of the Medes. Because, one, the Medes were tough, and they were in that country the Bible calls Elam, and it's Iran today. The Medes were tough. They were good fighters. They were fierce warriors. They turned back the Chaldeans, the Babylon. But Nebuchadnezzar was engaged in a war that lasted 20 years, over 20 years, the war that his father and he fought against the Egyptians, the Assyrians first and then the Egyptians. So he wasn't looking to the south and east of him from Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was looking at the trade route, which I mentioned a couple of days ago, went through Damascus from Mesopotamia, which is Shinar, Babylon, Nineveh, Babel. From there, through the Middle East, it came down to going through Israel and Judah, and then spilling into Egypt on the northern part of the African continent. He was busy destroying Assyria and then destroying Egypt. And he figured he would get around to taking care of the Medes, but instead of that happened, he died, and the Medes and the Persians wound up taking care of his grandson, Belshazzar. You read about that in Daniel chapter 5. But the people are still there. They haven't been scattered. They haven't been destroyed. It's going to destroy them so bad that nobody can be there, and he's going to scatter them to every country in the world. Well, what's the half-life of uranium or plutonium or whatever they're cooking down there? Yellow cake. I don't know what they're making. I'm sure that the IDF knows, and I'm sure that the CIA knows, but Jimmy Harris doesn't know. But if they do get that capability, either a combination of the United States, Great Britain, and Israel will destroy their nuclear facility at Bashur, which would be the largest city in what was ELAM. And if we don't help them, they will do it themselves. Israel is fully capable of destroying those nuclear facilities. And if they feel like they have to, they will, and they won't ask us about it. Iran's nuclear capability must be destroyed, even if it means killing every Ayatollah there. It has to be stopped. Because they want us dead and they want Israel dead. That's why I think, even in secret, that the UK and the United States will help Israel do this. But Israel is capable of doing it on her own, and she will. Now, if you drop nukes on Bashur and destroy all their nuclear facilities, and you've got all that raw radioactive material there, where the half-life of it is, what, 286 years? I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not a scientist. I only passed my science classes because I had smart girlfriends. Can you answer number 5? What's the answer to number 5? So I just don't know. Even if you told me, I wouldn't understand it because I don't have that kind of brain. All I can do is tell you what these words say and what they mean. And as a historian, as a student of history, this has not happened yet, so it has to happen in the future. But the clearest way to send them, scatter them like the 4 winds, and they'd be the outcast in every nation. There's not going to be some place that they're not scattered. Will be a nuclear wasteland after Bashur is destroyed. And Isfahan and Tehran too, for that matter, if they get in, if they don't shut up and sit down. You see, we made a lot of jokes about turning Iraq into glass. That's what happens. Fire and sand, just turns it to glass. But that's the kind of destruction that would happen if Bashur was taken out in the land of Elam. They would all be scattered. It says, for I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. What are we going to do? We're crashed. Good morning, Ashley. Oh, God bless you. It's good to see you, daughter. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before them that seek their life. And I'll bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith the Lord. And I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. That hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. It almost happened a few weeks ago. If Iran has launch and warhead capability, at that point, that's when it'll happen. You just need to be ready to wake up one morning and see that Bashur Iran ain't there no more. And you will know that that's the fulfillment of this prophecy that God gave Jeremiah about the destruction of Elam. And I will set my throne in Elam and will destroy from them the king and the princes, saith the Lord. All you Ayatollahs, you're out of here. You want to cut off any more Jew heads? We'll cut your head off first. You want to cut off any more Christian heads? We'll cut off your head first. You're doomed, saith the Lord. I will consume you, and I'll plop my throne right down there in the middle of you. I don't know exactly how that's going to work because it hadn't happened yet, so I can't report it. But I know this is going to happen because the Bible says it's going to happen. It has not happened in history. The Medes turned away the Chaldeans before they got far enough south to even touch Elam. Then a generation later, the Medes and the Persians conquered Babylon. So we know that history. That's plain enough. And this destruction of Elam has not happened yet. Remember, that's modern southwestern Iran. Now here is something I don't quite understand. Well, I've been going a long time, but I wanted to finish this today if I could, because we're probably going to spend a couple of weeks in chapter 51 and 50 and 51, because that's the prophecy against Babylon, and most of that hadn't happened yet either. You would be interested to know, I'm sure. But it shall come to pass in the latter days. Remember, what's he doing in the latter days? He said he would bring again the captivity of Moab. He said he would bring again the captivity of Ammon. We know that in the latter days that he is going to be kind to what were the Assyrian people and what were the Egyptian people. We know that from Isaiah. Look what it says here. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith the Lord. Are they going to be part of the kingdom? If this hasn't happened yet, then when is he going to gather them up? And if they're destroyed and run out and nobody can live there because of the nuclear fallout and waste, then he's going to have to gather them from somewhere. And then where will he bring them if that place? See, it's going to have to be in the millennial kingdom, because that's the only way that area could be restored, is if King Jesus is on the throne. So for some reason, it seems to me that Elam is going to be or have some role in the kingdom. And I'm not talking about the kingdom of God in your heart and that kind of thing. I'm talking about the millennial kingdom. Jesus Christ will sit on the throne of his father David. He will rule with a rod of iron, and the law shall go forth from Mount Zion. Bank on it, baby. It's going to happen. It just hadn't happened yet. And that kingdom, he's going to regather them, and that's the onlyest place that he can regather them to, because their old place is going to be hot, hot, hot for a long time, unless during the kingdom age, Jesus supernaturally brings healing to that area, and then he could regather them in that land. But that they're part of the kingdom at all, I can only speculate, because the Bible doesn't say. You know, I had it in my head, but I had to look early on, and I spent a minute or two stumbling at the beginning of this message, but I remember it all clearly now. Elam was the oldest son of Shem. He went and established those nomadic people in Elam. They were the progenitors of the Medes. They joined forces with the Persians. They were mighty conquerors, mighty warriors. They ruled the world for something like over 150 years before they were challenged by Alexander the Great and the Macedonians. 200 years. But he is the son of Shem, who was the father of Abraham, many times removed. The father, great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. Shem begat Arphaxad, and he begat a bunch, and then Terah begat Abram and Haran in the land of Ur, the Chaldees. So Elam is the son of Shem. Does he have a part in the kingdom because he is a son of Shem? I don't know. All I know is it says in verse 30, after the Lord brings total destruction upon them and sets a throne of judgment in the midst of them. Maybe that's the judgment of the nations when Jesus comes back in chapter 25 of Matthew. It's not clear. But what is clear is they're destroyed, they're scattered, and they're brought back again. And it says, but it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam. How? I don't know. When? I don't know. I do know this. It hadn't happened yet, so it's going to happen. God bless you.